Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's first video, doing USA forecast for today's first video. So as always on a Wednesday, we're having a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days in the United States. There's going to be a major tornadic outbreak potentially across southern states through today and possibly into tomorrow. As well as a major area of low pressure pushes across the south with a big temperature contrast. Classic sort of spring weather conditions, bringing severe thunderstorms, torrential rain, lightning, thunder, and also the risk of tornado activity through states such as Oklahoma. So I shall we'll have a good look at that with this, and also focus on weather next 10 to 14 days as well. I should go on with all of that for you very shortly, just to say that the second video update coming up later on today will be a 10 to 14 dayer for the United Kingdom and also for Northern Europe as well. No live stream again today, as we are having a bit of a break from free weekly live streaming at the moment. Right, so we're going to begin with the latest wind flow map from earthnullschool.net. This shows things up quite nicely. So you see this circulation just here. That is an area of low pressure. Let's zoom in on that a little bit. This is an area of low pressure across the southern states of America. I think that's into northern Texas, the center of that area of low pressure. Now you can see that on the southern and eastern side of that low, we're drawing up southerly winds. Gulf of Mexico down here, of course, so we're drawing up very warm southerly winds out of the Gulf, but at the same time on the northern and western side of the area of low pressure, we're drawing down northerly winds where the air is originating from Northern America and probably even from Canada as well. If we add on the temperature to the wind flow map, you can see the contrast that we've got with that area of low pressure. So we've got these hot southerly winds drawing up from the Gulf, but you can see with the blue colours, we've got the cold northerlies on the northern side of this area of low pressure. A very, very big temperature contrast, but it's indicative of what happens across the central and southern states and through the plains, at this time of the year as we're moving out of winter and into spring and ultimately to summer. So March, April, always the peak of the tornado season through like Tornado Alley and through the plains and through the southern states as we get these massive temperature contrasts. And that's a classic sort of example of it, with those warm southerly winds from the Gulf pushing northwards into the eastern side of the area of low pressure, but cold northerly winds from North America and ultimately from Canada drawing down into the northern and western side of the area of low pressure. And this contrast fuels volatility. The volatility fuels huge storm clouds. We get big storms developing with these temperature contrasts, massive thunderstorms, torrential rain, lightning, and yes, these can spawn tornadoes, and this is like a classic situation where we could well see some quite severe and significant tornadoes coming up across those southern states. Right, so this is how the GFS upper temperature and precipitation ensembles are looking for the next couple of weeks. Looking at Oklahoma City, I thought that would be, a good place to look today, given the focus for this volatility that's going on today. So the red line is a 30-year upper air temperature average for Oklahoma City. You see it is starting off warmer than average at the moment, but as that low pressure pushes through, of course, that's going to drop the temperature. We know that there's cold northerly winds on the northern side of that area of low pressure. So we start off at plus 15 at 850 HPA, and in around 24 hours time we're down to more or less down to minus 5 at 850 HPA. A significant drop in the temperature by sort of 15 or so degrees, and that also, that's all indicative of the deep area of low pressure will push through and bring through not only torrential thunderstorms, so risk of some tornado activity, and maybe snow for some northern, on the north side of that area of low pressure. Not going to be cold for all that long. Temperatures will then recover as we go through weekend and into next week, and then quite close to the long-term average, although there is a bit of scatter here, so you see very up and down with some of these ensemble members, indicative again of a time of year where we draw up warm air from the Gulf at times, but also pulling colder air from the north, and there's more precipitation spikes as well, especially around here from around the 23rd of March around the 27th. You know, that again could be associated with deep low pressure areas and big temperature contrast, indicative of this time of year, but might bring yet more torrential thunderstorm, and who knows, maybe more tornado activity to those southern states. So yeah, it looks quite volatile, doesn't it? Looks quite volatile over the next week. Maybe going a little bit drier as we come towards the end of March. But even then, you see with the upper air temperature, you know, it's not scattered. We've got some on some areas are still really quite cold, some of them that are hot. So again, with this clash of air masses, expect volatility. Temperature anomalies from the 17th, 25th of March going to be largely cooler than average for southern and western states. Actually, the mildest weather to average is in the north, like across the northern states and in towards the Midwest. So there we've got above average temperatures, but really down the east coast and then through the southern states and over towards the western side of America, it is quite a chilly scene coming on, especially so through the southern states, of course, where we've got all of this thunderstorm activity and volatility going on. It wasn't that many weeks ago that far southern states were plunging into the freezer, of course, and now we've come out of the freezer, and here we go, we've got classic sort of spring thunderstorms going on. As we go through the precipitation anomaly, you can see that, again, it does vary from state to state, but many of these central states, through the plains and up towards the Midwest as well, actually, looking rather wetter than average. Around the coastal areas, it's not as wet, so Florida looks pretty dry. The southern coastal Gulf states look quite dry, but it does progressively more unsettled the further north you go. Again, this is telling us that there are going to be these big showers and storms around as these air masses clash with one another. So this is how the GFS is looking for today. So that's the area of low pressure just here that is going to trigger all of these thunderstorms and potentially severe tornado activity. So it's across northern, so this is later on today, across northern Texas, northeast Texas, up into Oklahoma, and then pushing a little bit further eastwards as well. Again, there's the upper air temperatures for today, showing that clash of air masses, hot southerly air being drawn up out of the Gulf of Mexico on the eastern side of the area of low pressure, cold northerly winds being drawn down on the western side of the area of low pressure, and the clash of the air mass is what's going to produce these torrential showers and thunderstorms. Dew points again showing this up quite nicely. Hot dew points on the east side of below, cold dew points on the western side of below. Actually cold enough that some of the precipitation turned to snow on the northern and western side of that area of low pressure. Not only torrential thunderstorms, but also the risk of some snow on the northern side of below, or the northwestern side of below. Precipitation looks like this. Big showers of thunderstorms breaking out across the southern states then through this afternoon and into this evening. Torrential rain, thunderstorms, and yes, definitely possibility of tornado activity with those torrential storms as well. States like Texas, northern Texas anyway, east of Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, all those areas could be at risk of torrential rain and thunderstorms and tornado activity through the course of this afternoon and this evening. It looks like quite a severe spell of weather. I think the Weather Channel Direct Weather will be live streaming in around 4 or 5 hours time, live streaming what's happening with these thunderstorms. So check out Direct Weather, who know much more about all of this than I do, but it certainly looks like a very, very volatile situation coming up this afternoon. Those storms intensify as we go into the evening as well. Remember, this is from a European website, so this is going to be like mid-afternoon. It's like 9 o'clock this evening in Germany, actually. So it'll be like mid to late afternoon in the United States. So torrential thunderstorms through the southern states, again with a risk of tornado activity. The storms push eastwards through the course of the afternoon and into the evening, possibly pushing over towards Georgia, South Carolina perhaps by the end of the afternoon and into tonight. Again, you see that the hot southerly winds are being drawn into the east part of America, with the cold and northern winds being pulled down around the northern side of that area of low pressure. The low pressure then goes trundling off into northern and eastern parts of America through the course of tomorrow. And of course, by that point, the risk of tornado activity will be reduced. But probably this low pressure will still take heavy rain, maybe thunderstorms into northern and eastern parts of America. Might be some snow on the northern side of that area of low pressure. Well, I haven't really talked about snow a bit, but there could be significant snow on the northern side of this low as it pushes northwards and eastwards as well. So that is definitely something to watch out for. You see, the precipitation by tomorrow is more towards the eastern side of America, with many areas actually calming down and turning dry. Right, so let's run out through the weekend. High pressure then begins to take over, bringing a lot of dry weather, and it will turn much quieter for many parts of the state through the weekend. Next area of low pressure into the northwest could bring some rain, maybe some snow into the far northwestern part of America, but most areas will be turning drier over the weekend. Into next week, we're going to find, again, a bit of a clash of air masses going on here as we're running up towards the middle of next week. We've got this ridge over on the east side of America that draws warm southerly winds up from the Gulf again through many of those southern and eastern states. At the same time, colder air trying to dig back in from the north through the plains, and we could well start to see more contrasting air masses. Possibly this area of low pressure just here might bring another significant bout of thunderstorms and maybe some torrential rain, possibly tornado activity again through these central states and southern states as we go from the middle of next week. The contrasting the upper air temperature in the middle of next week, not quite as extreme as it is today, but nevertheless, that's quite a big temperature contrast. We've got hot air down across these southern states, pretty cold air further north. So yeah, but I would be looking out for the risk of more significant thunderstorms and maybe tornado activity through the middle part of next week for some of those states. Quite a deep area of low pressure there through the central states as we get through to the end of next week. Again, probably being spawned by that temperature contrast. Into last weekend of March, a low pressure then scoots off up towards Canada. We start pulling quite a cold northerly through the Midwest. That could bring a blast of wintry weather through the Midwest, maybe some snow. We're into extended range now, and it looks like we continue to have quite big temperature contrast really as we go out to the beginning of April. So again, these southern states looking pretty hot, as you expect by the time you get through to April. Southern states turning quite hot, but again, further north it looks pretty cold again, doesn't it, through the plains up in towards the Midwest into the northeast. So still quite cold up there with a risk of further snowfalls in places, and on the boundary there, long way out of course, but the boundary there is like here. So in those sort of boundary states we could start to see some quite significant volatility going on. This is how the ECM is looking, the euro. So all looking very similar actually for today. Just going to go back with this. So all looking quite similar for today, with this area of low pressure that we've got just here, but we'll push eastwards with the contrasting temperatures of the hot southerly winds on the east side of below, cold northerly winds on the west side of below, and so below could well, we've already established, spawn not only severe thunderstorms, but also the risk of tornadoes, and also on the northern side below there could be a significant drop in temperature and some quite significant snowfalls. By the time that low pressure moves into the eastern part of America with the euro, we'll lose the risk of tornadoes, I would have thought, but it could bring some heavy rain and possibly some snow, maybe some thunderstorms as well through those east states. Over weekend, a ridge of high pressure takes over, settles things down in most areas over northwest. We haven't really talked about the west and the northwest much in this update, but the northwest will start to turn a little bit more unsettled through the weekend, with outbreaks of rain, possibly some snow places as well. But most areas, central, southern, eastern states, turn drier and warmer over weekend. And then into next week, we probably do it all over again with this area of low pressure. It's a little bit further north with this, but generally I think the idea is still there. And of course, the placing of that area of low pressure could change. And I think the general idea is still there, but the southern, southeastern states were drawing up hot air from the Gulf. We've still got the cold air trying to push down from Canada, and so it spawns further volatility through the middle of next week with risk of more torrential storms and tornado activity looking likely, I think, for some areas. Again, this is how the upper air temperatures look on Thursday, hot across the southern states around the Gulf Coast, but cold air dinging in from the north. So again, where we're on this temperature contrast, we're on this boundary, which is like northern Texas, Oklahoma, you know, the classic areas, it looks like, again, there could be more big thunderstorms and possibly tornado activity, I would think, through the middle part of next week. All very indicative of the time of the year. As we get through towards day 10, we find this area of low pressure in the Midwest drawing down quite cold air from the north. That might turn some of the rain to snow across the Midwest. Again, the southern southeast states looking quite hot though, so the boundary between the cold and the hot air could spawn more big thunderstorms. It's very classic, very traditional for the time of the year, but it doesn't make it any less serious or severe. So if anyone is watching from those, from those states that are going to be affected by this area of low pressure, then do take care, do heed the warnings from the National Weather Service and from NOAA. Right, so this is how CFS is looking finally. So CFS V2 week 1, 500 millibar height anomaly from the 16th to 22nd of March. We'll have high pressure towards the northeast, low pressure out to the west. So again, we know it's going to be quite a volatile week. We're going to be drawing up air from the south, but also pulling down colder air from the north, and on the boundary again, could well see some big storms. Week 2 will be the 23rd, 29th of March, ridging through these northern and northeastern states, lower pressure though through the southern states. Again, that could be indicative of more volatility down in the south. The east looks generally dry and mild with that scenario, the ridge off the eastern seaboard. Week 3 is going to be the 30th of March to the 5th of April. Again, ridging in the north, but this ridge is extending down then through many of these central states, so maybe turning a little bit quieter for the central states. Lower pressure off the Pacific coast could bring some rain through there, and this area is interesting. There might be like a bit of a trough in the 500 millibar flow through there, but might turn the southeast a little bit volatile. And then we go through to week 4, which is going to be the 6th through to the 12th of April. Again, a ridge through the Midwest over towards the east, low pressure out towards the Pacific coast. Many areas are looking dry by this point, I think, as high pressure begins to take over. Most unsettled weather probably in the northwest. Week 1 temperature anomalies look really cold in the southwestern part of America. We haven't talked about that in this video, but like California, looking unusually cold through there. So cold in the far southwestern corner. However, most areas looking quite mild, especially these northern and eastern states. Also down in the south, but we know there is that contrast in temperatures. Week 2 is the 23rd to the 29th of March. Generally mild average in the north and the east, colder in the south and in the southwest as well. Again, the contrasting temperatures through here. So you see it's like warm and average through Florida, colder than average through Texas. The contrast of the temperatures is likely, in between, is likely to spawn more showers and thunderstorms potentially. Week 3 is the 30th of March to the 5th of April. Largely a mild average seen in most parts of America. Still a bit colder in the southwest. It does look unusually cold around California, I have to say. Not sure what's going on there. And a little bit cooler around the far southeastern corner as well. And then week 4, though, look at this. Turning very mild, 6th to the 12th of April. Right from the west coast all the way to the east coast. Just turning very substantially above average. Will that be the first heat wave, perhaps, of the season for many parts of America? Probably a bit early for that. This is how week 1 precipitation only looks finally. So this is going to be the 16th, 22nd of March. So above average rainfall in the southeastern corner, actually looking a bit drier than average through like many parts of Texas and up into Oklahoma as well, which is a little bit strange. But I suppose once these storms push through, I mean, it is just today, but we're going to have these storms for like northern Texas, Oklahoma. Once they push through, it probably does turn drier over the weekend, but I think go back to more volatility next week. Anyway, I'm not sure how seriously you take these temperature precipitation anomalies from the CFS. I always concentrate on the 500 millibar heights, really. Northern area is going to be drier than average. These west and southwest areas do look a little bit wetter. Now, going into week 2, this is the 23rd, 29th of March. It's more like what I expect to see for this week, really. So above average precipitation like Texas all the way up to Midwest, telling us that there is going to be some heavy showers and thunderstorms for them. Drier in the northwest and in the extreme southeastern corner. Week 3 is going to be looking 30th of March, 5th of April, looking generally drier through the southern states, a little bit more unsettled in the north and in the northwest. And then we get through to week 4, which is going to be the 6th, 12th of April, drier through the southern southeastern states, a little bit more unsettled further north. So, as I said, it's all very classic of the time of the year where you do get these contrasts, in temperatures fueling massive thunderstorms and tornado activity. But just because it's classic and it's typical for that part of the world at this time of year does not make it any less serious or severe. So if you are watching from like Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, those sort of areas, if you're watching from there, do heed the warnings of your National Weather Service and also NOAA, and just take care in what is going to be a very, very volatile couple of hours. As I said, Direct Weather channel, and I'll link to that in the description, is going to be live streaming these storms in around 5 hours' time, I think. So have a look at what they're saying, and they'll keep you updated. But also, of course, keep an eye on the warnings and advisories from NOAA and the National Weather Service. Right, so that's it then for today's this week's USA podcast. We'll do it all over again next week. If you enjoyed the video, please smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. You'll be able to see future weather content if you do that. And drop a comment. Let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. Thank you so much for doing that. We're going to be back later on with a much more sedate, much less extreme 10 to 14 day video update for the UK and for Northern Europe. For this one, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.